before our timer speaks, let me just let you know that this is a speech about persuasion, and it is about dealing with opposition. And there are three speakers, there are three Toastmasters and guests here who have volunteered to ask a question during the question and answer period to be sure that we have one, or that we have two. Malcolm X said education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to the person who prepares for it today. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, our public education system was designed to lay the groundwork for our children's tomorrow. But our neighborhood schools are steadily losing enrollment. As parents who can afford to do so, move their children to private, magnet, and charter schools. Why? Because they lack confidence in the public system. This means many middle and lower income children in substandard or decayed schools are struggling to deliver on the American promise of quality education for every child. It means this is robbing many children of the opportunity to truly prepare for tomorrow, and in many cases, a better tomorrow than they know today. There are many problems our schools face, and we can't solve all of them overnight. However, each of us needs to be paying attention to what their school districts are doing with our tax dollars. If you don't have children, as I do not, it's difficult to really be aware of what is going on in the schools, because the schools speak to parents, not to citizens. In late 2017, I learned of an alarming situation involving our neighborhood high school, Lakeside. I'd like to share the Lakeside story with you, because I believe in education, and because I believe this is not a unique situation. Lakeside was built in 1965 to accommodate about 600 students on Briarcliff Road, a two-lane residential street in the heart of Atlanta's early suburbs. Additions in 1968 doubled enrollment to 1,200 students. Fast forward to 2012, when capacity was increased to 1,750, and when the expansion was completed, there were 1,900 students. Today, there are 2,100 students and 10 portables. Some of you may remember portables from your childhood. With enrollment projected to increase to 2,600 in the next 5 years. Access now and in the foreseeable future still depends on that one double lane Briarcliff Road. It's busier today, and residential development is going to ensure that that continues. There are 35 separate school bus routes that navigate Briarcliff Road every day, and 62% of Lakeside students must use those buses to get to school. That's the facility side of the equation, but let's talk about academics. In 2005, not that long ago, Lakeside High School was ranked 107th out of the top 1,200 high schools in the United States. Today, Lakeside is not even rated. In that same year, Lakeside was ranked number 1 in Georgia. Today, it is 73rd. Remember those buses? They're late every day. And so are the students that have to get to class. Imagine what that process every day does to the academic environment in which they enter. So what's the DeKalb County School District doing about this problem? Well, they have approved a $27 million expansion to add 750 more seats to the campus, bringing its capacity to 2,500 with projected enrollment of 2,600 when the expansion is finished in 2022. In the meantime, portables will have to make do. The approved expansion will include a 2-story, 38-classroom, kitchen, cafeteria, and media center expansion, and a 3-story parking garage. Because in 1965, kids didn't drive to school, but they do today. And in 1965, there weren't as many faculty and staff that they have today. Further academic and instructional investment, I'm not aware of any. Feasibility and actual cost for these additions will be determined by the architects selected to do the work. And yes, they've been selected, and yes, they're working on the feasibility study. Isn't this a case of the fox guarding the hen house? How will it be financed? That's an interesting question, too. Are any of you how many of you are aware of a SPLOST? What a SPLOST is? Okay, a few of you are. I'm going to tell you, a SPLOST is a special purpose local option 1% sales tax. It's optional for you and I, the taxpayers, to approve it. Then the county levies it, and the school district spends it. This method has been used since 1997 to provide $1.2 billion to finance capital improvements for DeKalb County schools. The SPLOST 5, approved by the taxpayers in 2016, extended the tax to cover 2017 through 2022, and funds raised are expected to be and allocated to spend of $561 million, of which $77 million is allocated for Lakeside latest expansion. You might be thinking, is Kay opposed to investment in the schools? Absolutely not. I am 100% in support of investment in education. So why am I concerned about the decision to, once again, expand Lakeside High School? There are many reasons, but I will share a few of them. First, Lakeside High School is a school with a great heritage of academic excellence, which is further degrading every single year. Number two, mega schools, which is defined as one of 2,500 or more students, are not as effective as small schools. And studies have shown that the intimacy of a small school produces much better education. Number three, Lakeside is a 1960s vintage building which does not provide the space needed in the hallways and the stairwells and the offices for 2,500 students to operate on a safe level every day. Number four, access from a single two-lane road makes security a nightmare. Imagine what would happen if we had a crisis at Lakeside and every parent came to pick up their child. The surrounding watershed is the next item. It is damaged because they have built the ball fields out over the creek beds that used to serve the watershed. And we have terrible flooding every time it rains. Remember those school buses? Imagine what it does for them. Number six, the DeKalb Commissioners, the DeKalb County Commissioners and the Lakeside School Council, made up of parents, faculty, and staff, are all publicly in opposition to this expansion. Number seven, the decision process, which includes deciding to do it without knowing what it would cost or whether or not it was feasible, and then giving it to the people that have been picked to do the work to decide if it's feasible, is flawed. And finally, this expansion will do nothing to improve academics at Lakeside, nor prepare our kids for tomorrow. So who's accountable for this? Who's accountable for this money to be spent and for the education that's delivered at Lakeside High School and all of our other schools for that matter? This was shocking to me. First of all, the accountability lies with the DeKalb County School District, which is run by seven Board of Education elected commissioners and Superintendent Dr. Stephen Green, who is appointed by the Board of Education commissioners. What is DeKalb County's role in what's going on with the schools? They have no role. The school district is not accountable to the county. In the state of Georgia, school districts operate on their own and they make their own decisions. What about the state of Georgia? What is their role? Well, school district's not accountable to them either. They do set some policy that we're supposed to abide by, but in general, the DeKalb County Board of Education and the DeKalb County School District are accountable only to themselves, and that is it. They do, however, pay a little bit of attention to public opinion, and that's where we have to go next. Once I learned what had been decided, how it was decided, and what damage it would do to the community and to the school, I joined with 4 neighbors and we organized educatedegab.org. We have written to, spoken before, and met with the DeKalb County School District officials many times. Our request: consider your options. Think strategically. Quit expanding schools that are overbooked once they're finished. Make repairs to this school and make it a better small school as opposed to a poor big school. Don't expand it at all. Build a new school in the district that will accommodate the overcrowding that we have, because it is possible. But you know what is missing in all this? Dialogue. We speak, they listen, they thank us, we leave. We don't really hear back. Is there any evidence they're really listening? Well, not until we created a website, did a yard sign campaign, which sprinkled the neighborhood with DeKalb better, Lakeside better, not bigger. And suddenly we began to get interest from the media as well. So now they seem to be listening just a little bit. It's an important issue. We know that it will take time and persistence to win, and persist we will. We're not the only city, county, state, or country suffering from misguided decisions by bureaucrats who have little interest in really building our trust. With that said, I can take a couple of questions.
Okay, you started out by quoting Malcolm X. Who is Malcolm X?
That's a great question. Malcolm X is an icon of the 70s. He was an incredibly well-spoken, articulate black man who stood up for black people and all that had been done to keep them from moving forward over many, many, many years in this country. And for his efforts, he was assassinated. Do I have any other questions?
Okay, I have not so much as a question, but a comment. I listened with great interest and detail with what you were saying, or at what you were saying. And a couple of things. One, I believe that I understand the expansion of the problem with expanding the school, the enrollment at the school. I also understand better than I care to get into why there is a decline in the academic level at Lakeside. I do not agree that the school board is unaccountable, because we do vote for the school board and we can vote those rascals out. But probably the biggest thing that I appreciate with what you're saying is the action of the community in this education.org. Because whether we like it or not, the policies are not made at the local level. The policies are not made at the state level. The policies are made at the federal level. And the National Association of Teachers, who really have ruined our education system. They pass the laws, they implement the policy, it comes down. Even this thing now that they have a common core, which means that all schools, they want all public schools to have the same curriculum right on the line, and you cannot do that. It's better taught at the local level, as your organization is finding out. So, without giving a speech, I admire what you're doing. The only thing that I can say is I hope that your organization continues to spread, because it becomes a grassroots effort, and that's where we get change. Thank you.
Thank you, Kermit. I've just 2 comments, and then I will finish up. We won't have time for other questions. The fact of the matter is that there are many things the matter with the education system, whether it's at the local level all the way to the national level, and I agree completely. I think that what's important is that education is critical. It must be in the crosshairs of our interests. And I challenge each of you to take an interest in your neighborhood's educational situation and make sure that you do everything you can do to further the cause of making sure our children are prepared for their future.